much, everybody. It's an honor. This is an honor, and I want to thank the people behind me because they have done an incredible job under very adverse conditions, I have to say. And they're very special people. Very special. Congratulations to Paul. He gave a speech last week, which was incredible. I mean, they endorsed me, so I have to think it was incredible. So thank you all very much. It's a great group of people. They love our country. Before we begin, I want to address the unconstitutional decision issued today by a radical judge appointed by Biden, and it just came down in Virginia, illegally allowing non-citizens to vote in our elections. In fact, a poll came out, 87% of the people disagree, so that's pretty good amount, isn't it, Ted, huh? The outrageous decision goes against the very bedrock of our democracy, and thankfully, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who's doing a terrific job, is working hard to fix this problem. They found thousands of illegal votes, and the judge said, you didn't do it in a timely fashion. They did it a long time ago. As legal scholar Andy McCarthy just said, and very correctly, how can non-citizens be allowed on the voter rolls if their voting is a federal crime? Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley, two great guys, by the way, also notes that it is a crime to be a non-citizen voter. Removing illegal voters off the voting roll should be a big priority for this country, and yet instead we're scorned by a judge. This is blatantly un-American, and it's election interference, and Kamala Harris is behind it very much. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and obviously, I mean, it's up to the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, but I assume they're going to be appealing it. I think he's going to, and they feel very strongly about it, so we'll see how it goes. But you have to get the confidence going for elections when you have decisions coming down like that where they allow people to vote that blatantly aren't qualified to vote. It's pretty sad for our country. We have enough problems with the elections. It's about confidence. We're here today in the great state of Texas, which is, I like it, which under Kamala Harris has been turned into ground zero for the largest border invasion in the history of the world. You're lucky you have your governor and people like Ted and Dan and all of the people, Sid. Even John, who's from a different state, but he feels the same way, or you would really have problems. But you've done an amazing job under the circumstances. But the federal government's supposed to be doing that job, and it should be easy, and it's not because of the people. But over the past 4 years, this state has become Kamala's staging ground to import her army of migrant gangs and illegal alien criminals into every state in America. And every state's a border state. You've heard that. It's true. Paving a trail of bloodshed, suffering, and death all across our land. And it's only getting worse. It's just incredible when you look at the numbers. 21 million people at least during this 3.5-year period. And many of them, as you know, are murderers, drug dealers, people from jails. They're letting their people out of jails and bringing them right into our country. We're like a dumping ground. What Kamala Harris has done on our border is cruel, it's vile, and it's absolutely heartless. Her policy of importing migrant gangs is a crime against our country. It's actually a crime against humanity, and her abolition of our border should disqualify her for even running. I mean, I don't know how you can run for the president of the United States and allow people to pour into our country. And we're talking about seriously criminal people, many of these people, and they come from all over the world. It's not just South America. They're coming in from Africa. They're coming in from the Middle East. The Congo, that's a hot place right now. A lot of people coming in from prisons in the Congo. They're coming into our country. It's not even believable, actually, when you think, you're standing up here, you're saying this stuff, John Barrasso, but you're saying this, and you say to yourself, is it even believable? It's sort of like, actually in a smaller way, but still very important, men playing in women's sports. Who would want that? But, 10 years ago, 10 years ago, you would never say that, and then you have the transgender operations all over the place, and you're saying this, and you have parental guidance, and we want our child to be parentally guided, and you have to make apologies for the fact that they're not, but they're going to be, and we're going to bring that back. We want our parents. But you know, if you go back 10 years or 15 years ago, if you ever made a speech like that, they'd say, this guy's crazy. What is he talking about? Those things would never happen, and they didn't happen until a certain time ago with the radical left. No person who is responsible for so much bloodshed on our own soil can ever be allowed to become president of the United States. And I think she's coming here today. She doesn't want to go to a swing state because she's losing so badly in those states, so she decided to come to Texas, and I'm sure she'll be treated very nicely. Today, she picked the wrong place. I think she picked the wrong place. What do I know about politics? I haven't done it that long, actually. But today, Kamala is here in Texas to rub shoulders with woke celebrities. Isn't that exciting? But she's not going to meet with any of the victims of migrant crime while she's here. We have many of them right here, the families. We have many of them. And they're incredible people, what they've gone through, the hell that they've gone through, and will continue to go through, unfortunately. She'll not speak to the grieving mothers from whom she has stolen the brightest light in their lives. She was in charge of this border, and she doesn't like being called border czar anymore. She didn't mind it almost 4 years ago, but now she doesn't like it. But you don't need that term. She was in charge of the border. She never came here, and she never made one call to these people behind me or anybody in the group. Not one call. She's in charge. She deals with Border Patrol. She hasn't made, Paul, not one call in 4 years. So we're joined today by a Texas mom, Alexis Hungary from Houston, a great woman. This past June, thank you. Great one. Where is Alexis? Where is she? Come up here, Alexis. Come up here. So this past June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious angel, as you say, Jocelyn. We all called her that. We feel we know Jocelyn. And she's had a big impact, Alexis. You know that, right? She's had a big impact. Walked to a nearby convenience store. Jocelyn was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted, and I'm not going any further than that. I'm standing with the mother. And horrible things happened to her, to that young, beautiful girl. And the animals arrested for Jocelyn's barbaric murder are 2 illegal aliens believed to be members of the savage Venezuelan prison gang known as Tren de Aragua. And they're all over the place now. They're all over our country. They were in Aurora, but Aurora is now the least of it. They've taken over buildings in Aurora. The government, a radical left Democrat, weak person, doesn't know quite what to do. He's always got a big mouth when he talks about other things, but he has no idea what to do. And they have weapons of military grade. You say, how did they get those weapons? These monsters were in Border Patrol custody, but under a program Kamala Harris created to abolish detention for fighting-aged men, whatever that means, and give them free and automatic entry into the United States. The killers were released into our country, and Alexis, we cannot begin to imagine your pain. And if you'd like to say a few words, would you like to? Would you? Thank you. Thank you, darling.
I want to thank everybody for Donald Trump, really, for the opportunity to be able to say my daughter's story. I know everybody knows somebody that was like her. She was 12. She was going to be a 7th grader, preteens. They think they're invincible. And she was just being a child. And due to the Biden-Harris policies we have here are why she's not here anymore. She was taken from her vulnerability, and they made her a target and ran with that. And now I will forever be a grieving mother, and my son will forever be a grieving brother who will no longer get to grow up with his sister. Kamala Harris has never reached out to me, just even as a human, to give her condolences as a humane person running this country. I think it's very sad that she can't even just give me an open apology, sincere apology. She's attempted to apologize to me just days before this election, and I find it very inconvenient and a convenience for her. I appreciate everything Donald Trump, Senator Ted Cruz has done for me. They've been a tremendous amount of help for me and my family during this incredibly hard journey for me. I want to thank everybody for listening to my words. Thank you.
So I want to thank you, Alexis, and we will never forget Jocelyn. We're not going to. We've all seen her picture. It's blazed into our minds, and the violence and viciousness, and nobody calls, nobody talks. And we have many others like that. The 13 soldiers that were killed so horribly in Afghanistan, nobody called them. Nobody calls them. But certain people they call, but they don't call them. They weren't called. They weren't treated properly. They were treated very badly, actually. And many others, including some of the people in this room, nobody calls. I don't know, just from a human standpoint, I call. It's like, you can't do much because it's done. We could have done much if we were running things, Ted. We would have had strong borders. We would have had all the things. At least they would have had a real good chance of not having been caught up in this crime wave that's happening. It's a crime wave. The number of people coming in, we have no idea what the number is. I say 21 million. A lot of people think it's more than that. And then you start talking about the gotaways. I think the gotaways could be, Dan, double that. Who knows what it is? They're running into the country. We have no idea. That we call them from parts. I call them from parts unknown. As of 2 weeks ago, Tom Homan told me it was 181 countries were represented and people pouring in. So it's no longer just a small group of people from the 3 or 4 countries that we're accustomed to talking about. In an interview last week, Kamala Harris was asked directly if she would apologize to Alexis for letting in the savage killer that took Jocelyn's life, and Kamala Harris refused to take any responsibility whatsoever. She refused to own up to the fact that open borders and totally unchecked. It's not even open borders. Open borders are horrible, and how stupid are they? How stupid. We're the only country in the world that has this. But they don't even check them. They don't vet them. They don't know who they are. They don't know where they're going. They just come in, and then they fly them over, you know? When the border got a little bit tougher because people were getting angry and just, we had citizens standing at the border wanting to do, and then they get in trouble because they want to do the job the federal government's supposed to be doing. But she refused to own up to it. And last night she said she wants to make strong borders. I mean, what she did last night and the night before, the town hall with Cooper was just unbelievable. Allison Cooper got so angry. But think of it, never an apology, never a phone call to anybody. So thank you very much, Alexis. We're going to get this thing straightened out. We're going to get it straightened out. We got to get it straightened out. Just from the standpoint of our heart, no calls, no nothing. Worst of all, Kamala refuses to stop importing these killers into our country every day. She brings in more. She's got no remorse at all for the innocent blood that's on her hands, and the blood is on her hands, and Biden too, but Biden doesn't know where the hell he is, so what difference? I just saw him. He's making a speech somewhere, and he screwed it up pretty badly. But he's got his glasses, the whole deal, you know, standing outside, wind blowing. He doesn't look great for us. He doesn't look, that's not what we want. That's not what we want. President Xi used to look at him and still does, I guess, right? But he used to he just said, oh, this makes me so happy, he says. And Putin and the whole group, Kim Jong-un, they're tough guys out there. They're tough and they're smart and they're streetwise and they're at the top of their game. And we don't have that. That's very nice. Thank you. What a good line that is. That she said, that's why we have you. Thank you very much. Wow. Wow. You know that woman? You know that woman? That's very good. Thank you. It's very nice. Thank you very much. 2 days ago, she said she could not think of any mistakes that she's made. She was asked a question. Can you think of anything that you would do different? Can you think of any mistakes that you've made? Now, actually, she couldn't think of it. It's about as good. She could say, I would have strengthened the border, I would have lowered taxes, there are about 500 answers she could give, and you're out of that question, right? She couldn't think of a thing. You know, the worst of all, really, is 325,000 young children are possibly dead, but many of them are dead, but they're sex slaves, or at a minimum, they're missing. They'll never see their parents again, most likely. We'll do everything we can when we come back. I don't know. It's very far down the line. We're going to do everything we can to get them. But think of what that number represents, Dan. 325,000. And the fake news media doesn't even talk about it. If that were a Republican instead, it would be the biggest scandal in history. It would be the equivalent of nothing else. And they don't even talk about it. They cannot talk about 325,000 for you people are missing. Think of that, are missing, and probably will never be seen again, most of them. But we're going to do the best we can. It's a tough assignment. But most of them, they're probably dead. Under Border Czar Harris, there are 13,099 illegal aliens convicted of murder that were released from jails and prisons and penitentiaries, and they were set loose into the United States of America. We're like a garbage can. We're like a garbage can. First time I said it was last night. Gave a speech in Las Vegas. 29,000 people. It was an arena. We set the arena record. That was a big deal arena, too. We set the record, but it was an amazing crowd. The first time I ever said it, I don't know, it just came out, garbage can. We're like a garbage can for the rest of the world to dump the people that they don't want. Do you know what they save on that? Their mental institutions are being emptied out. Their jails and prisons are being emptied out. And their gangs and their drug dealers and everybody's being taken off the streets. And Venezuelan crime is down 72%. Can you believe it? Well, that's because they don't, the criminals are being put here. If we don't win this election, we're going to go to Venezuela next year, Ted, and we're going to celebrate there because it's going to be much safer than our country, okay? Is that a deal? We'll all go together. You're winning. No, it's just so bad. Well, I have to tell you, I'm not supposed to say it, but we are winning by a lot, actually. And the reason is we want them to keep voting because we have to go, these used to take one day. Now they go on forever. And bad things happen. Lots of bad things happen. Where are those votes that I saw 2 days ago? Well, we're painting that section and we decided to move them, sir. Oh, you can't believe it. So they said, don't say it. So I didn't say it. Don't tell anyone I said that. But we're doing well. We're doing well in all 7 states. Every one of those swing states we're doing well. And we're doing really well here. But we expect that. We expect. But in another atrocity, Kamala released and unvetted MS-13 gang members from El Salvador into the United States. These are real beauties. MS-13, that's another gang. They use knives. They like knives because it's more painful. They cut people up. They killed 2 young students walking to school, 2 beautiful young women, young girls. And they were walking to school, and they got them walking to school, and they knifed him up and cut him up. Didn't want to use guns because that's not painful. And you know who got rid of them? ICE. They're friends from ICE. They work so well together. And Kamala wants ICE is, you know what ICE is? Tough people that love our country. They have to be tough. Because I know a lot of tough people right up here. You don't want to do what they do. They got to be tough. And they've done a great job, but they did a very good job here. But the animal that went on to attack and tie up a 20-year-old autistic woman in Maryland before, raping her and then strangled her to death very violently in front of numerous people, and actually put it on tape. Put it on tape. These are the people we're bringing into our country. In New York this past summer, an illegal alien released into our custody and came into our country by Kamala. You know, I never use the word Harris because nobody knows who I'm talking about. When I say Harris, they say, who the hell is Harris? It's true. If I said VP Harris, nobody knows who it is. Can you believe she's a VP? A VP. How about the guy she's got? That's worse. I'm not sure. It might be worse than her. Well, she lived by the old adage, always get yourself a bad VP. And she's got one. We were very happy when we heard that choice, but we didn't know he was as bad as he did. He's a disaster. But Kamala approached two 13-year-old children with, think of this, these people that she let in with machetes, knives, guns, in broad daylight, forced them into the woods, tied them up together, their wrists, everything, raped the young girl at the park, filmed the entire thing, put it on camera, put it out for everybody to see, badly injured this person and somebody with her too, really badly. In Georgia this year, and you know this, everybody knows this, except Biden, he didn't know how to pronounce her name after pressure because he didn't talk about it either, Alexis. He refused to talk about it. Then he was actually forced to because it got so crazy. But in Georgia this year, an illegal alien criminal with ties to Trinidad, Aragua, kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered a brilliant young nursing student, Laken Riley. You remember? Laken Riley, who was a beautiful, I got to meet the parents a couple of times. They're incredible, but they're like devastated. You know, you can't really say, oh, well, everything will be, it's not going to be okay. It's not good. It's just, you can't really, there's nothing you can say, really. A lot of times I say, like to Alexis, what can I say? The only thing we can do is do something about it so it doesn't happen again, you know, and that's all we can do. But she murdered her while she was out on a run. She wanted to keep herself in good shape, and they got her. Her killer was yet another monster released into America through this open border policy of Kamala and her group of radical left idiots. Under the Trump administration, we will end this migrant invasion and we will deport every last criminal alien, targeting our daughters and our children, our families, other people's families. They're going to be gone. They're going to be gone fast. Some are so violent, you know, we can't let them go. We can't send them in because they'll come back. But we have some pretty strong policies that we're putting into place immediately on January 20th. We're honored to be joined by many of the incredible Border Patrol agents and law enforcement heroes who will help us restore safety to America. And I'd like to invite a very special person. He made such a good speech last night. They endorsed me. And this gentleman made a very good speech. I said, you know, I'm going to have to go back and start practicing. Ted, you and I are going to have to practice a little bit. But Paul Perez just assumed the big power position from Brandon, who was a fantastic guy. He's still involved in so many ways. But they endorsed me, something they're not really probably even supposed to do. I won't get into that. But they love the country. And in endorsing, they said very bad things about her. They don't want to say bad things either. They want to say great things. Even me, I didn't know I was going to do this. We had a very good first election. We had a much better second election. We got close to 12 million votes more than we did the first time, the highest number in history. And okay, And then I saw what was happening with the country. It was so bad and so incompetent. It didn't take long. I would have preferred that the country was really well run. John, I would have preferred it. If the country was really, if Biden got in there and he was a great president, I would have actually preferred it. And right now I'd be on a beach or a golf course or something. I'd be doing something else. But I'd rather be in Texas with you, I can tell you that. I'd rather be in Texas with you because we're going to make our country great again, and we're going to do it. And if I could ask Paul just to come up and say a few words, and I appreciate very much the endorsement, Paul. Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President. I really respect the fact that you came out to Texas to highlight migrant crime, illegal alien crime. We've got some good people here in the front row that have been supporting the governor's efforts to do the federal government's job. And so we really appreciate that. But I want to talk about the person that's going to be coming to Houston tonight, not to apologize or highlight illegal alien crime, but to party like a fool on stage with celebrities. Instead of apologizing to the families, this is somebody who likes to brag about being a former federal prosecutor who prosecuted transnational gangs and cartel members. So she knew better, President Trump. She knew better than most exactly the threat that these people, these animals, create, the threat that they bring to our communities that will harm our families. And these scumbags listed here on these pictures here are part of the Kamala crime wave. And because of that, the Kamala crime wave has devastated cities. President Trump strikes fear in the enemies of America. That is the type of leadership that we need in this country. Just recently, the criminal cartels have greenlit firing on Border Patrol agents. They would have never done that under President Trump because they know he would send the message that if you touch a single hair on a Border Patrol agent, I will eradicate you. That's the strength and leadership we need from President Trump. Not the clowns that are running for president on the Democratic ticket. My daughter can handle a shotgun better than Tim Walz. And he served in the military, as he claims. The Secretary of Homeland Security, also a former federal prosecutor. They know better. They should have stopped this invasion. They did nothing. They not only facilitated, but they encouraged it. This border needs to be fixed, and the only person that can fix this border is Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much. Paul, thank you very much. Boy, it's you can't say it better. You can't say it better. And they really know the subject. If they thought somebody was slightly better, that's what they want. They just want it fixed. And their job's a lot easier just to let everybody pour through. It's a tough job when you do it right, but that's what they want. They love the country. This is just a great group. I've gotten to know them so well over the years. I did call them a lot. And we had the safest border. We put down my all-time favorite chart. Without that chart, I wouldn't be standing here, Dan. But that chart basically showed we had the lowest, and it was done by Border Patrol. We had the lowest number of illegal migrants. We had the lowest number of drugs in many years, and all of the different categories were number one. The day I left, and I said, we're going to have to come back. We're going to have to do it, and we'll do it even better because we really have experience now that we didn't have then. I want to thank the Guillen family. The Guillen family is here. They are incredible, incredible, brave, and beautiful family. They lost their daughter and sister, and she's up in heaven looking down, very proud of you, and very proud of the stance that you took. A very vicious group of people, just liars, you know, and a magazine that's a failing magazine run by a guy named Goldberg came out with a story, bad story about me, that I had told them I was going to do something and all this. And they were so incensed that they said, we can't let them say that about what took place with the daughter. I was going to help them. If they didn't get the military funding, I was going to fund it myself. I told them that, but they were able to get the funding. And I guess they came out with a story that, what's it called, the Atlantic magazine, Atlantic. This is a really bad, they were the ones that made up the story about me saying bad things about the soldiers. The beautiful thing is that these people were willing to come out and say it didn't happen that way. This man was, I had them into the White House, and they didn't have to do this. They could have sat back, and your daughter is so proud of you, I'm telling you. They didn't have to do that. I have these people saying all this bad stuff. Then all of a sudden, the family that they're talking about comes out of nowhere and says, President Trump was perfect. What he did was so great. He got us the money. And I did say, if we couldn't get you the money for the funeral, I was going to pay it. But he got us the money, and it happened so quickly and nice. And they came out and they said that. Who would do that? A lot of people wouldn't do that. They'd sit back and they say, well, he was a nice guy, but we don't want to get involved or something. We love you. Thank you very much. We love you. And there was phony stories by a general that got fired, and it was a whack job, total whack job, a general. It's funny, when you fire people, see, Biden has never fired anybody, but when you fire people for doing a bad job, they get a little bit angry. Somehow it just seems to work. But he was a nut job to start off with. So it's such a beautiful story. Out of nowhere, we get a call saying that problem solved. Why? Because the family came to, and they said that the magazine totally lied and misrepresented. This was the same magazine that said that I said about dead soldiers that there was something, what was it, suckers and losers. Think of it. I'm supposed to be standing there over the graves of soldiers with people around me, military people or whatever, making a statement like that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine anybody doing it? I think I'd end up I may be the president, but I think somebody would start a fist fight. And probably I would say, you were right in it. Who would do this? They make up stories. It's not even like they have sources. They don't have sources. They're storytellers. They say, what would be bad? I have a bad one. And you know when it's always released? Same time with the last one. It's released just before the election. That suckers and losers story, which was totally fabricated. There's nobody that loves the military. And these were World War I heroes. They died in World War I. And I'm saying, they were suckers. I mean, you'd know me. They were suckers and losers. Can you imagine it? And the problem I have, Ted, is that 5, 10, 20% of people, when they read that, they're going to believe it. So I talk about it because it was a terrible thing. You know, I walked past, I remember we were doing a big event, and I was going back to Air Force One, and they were under the wing, these fake news people. They're so bad. There's a lot of them back there, by the way. We got a lot of them honoring that special person, right? We got a lot of fake news. But I remember I'm walking past, and I hear the people shouting and everything. And I heard this one voice, loud, boisterous, horrible voice, say, did you call the dead soldiers from World War I suckers and losers? I said, I didn't, to myself, I said, man, that's a bad one. Because it's what? This sleazebag reporter, Goldberg, against me. I mean, and a percentage of people have to believe it, so all I can do is talk about it. But as soon as I heard that statement, I said, man, that's bad. Because to me, that's so bad. And that's what they do. These are evil people. They're a threat to democracy. And, we are not a threat. The threat to democracy is the other side. They've weaponized the courts. They've weaponized the FBI to go after people. They go after parents. They're going after Catholics. I don't know what's with Catholics lately. But if you're Catholic, you're being persecuted. Anybody that votes as a Catholic for this horrible candidate that can't put two sentences together, she can't speak. She can't put two sentences together. Can you imagine her standing with President Xi of China? I don't think so, Ken. I don't think. He would be a very happy man, but hopefully that won't happen. And based on the first 4 days, it's not going to happen. I want to thank some of the special guests we have. Senator Ted Cruz for being here, Senator Ted. And it's hard to believe he's in a race because, honestly, I don't know who would want to run against him because he's really a great senator. He's a great senator. He loves the country. He's tough as hell. He fights. He's always fighting, and he's fighting for the state, but he's fighting more for the country than just about anybody. And John Barrasso would acknowledge that. John is one of our leaders in the Senate, and he's a fantastic man. So Ted, I know your thing is going good. I heard you were helped very greatly. You got a big pop, right? And I know you're doing great, but I just want to say he's got my complete and total endorsement. He has always will have. And you're going to have a great day, and hopefully I'm going to have a great day, and we're going to be celebrating together, and we're going to make our country, as we say, or we'll make America great again. We're going to make it great, and it's going to go faster than you think. But it can't sustain this for another 4 years. That I do believe. A very good friend, the head of my campaign from the day I ran, he called. He said, "I want to run your campaign." I said, "Well, I'm not very experienced. I'd never done this before." But he liked me, and he saw something, I guess. Dan Patrick, he's a fantastic man. And Dan, we're doing okay, I hear. Good? Okay, good. When Dan says that, that's good. And by the way, if I had any problems, he would tell me that very quickly, right? But when Dan says it, it means a lot. Thank you, Dan, very much. Appreciate it. Attorney General Ken Paxton, a really great Attorney General. Great Attorney General. Thank you. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You see, when they go after people with bullshit, they become very popular. And that's what happened to Ken. Ken was made to suffer for a long period of time, but it worked out very well. And I stuck by him, and other people stuck by him. Some of the people right there stuck by him, including that one right there. So I think Ken, I said, he's a great Attorney General. You got to stick by your Attorney Generals. And I'm very happy the way that all worked out. But you went through a lot, right? And that's why they love you, because they understand that. Agriculture Commissioner, another friend of mine, Sid Miller. The first time I saw Sid, he was on television. Alexis, he was on television, and I didn't know him at all. He was on Deface the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, Sid Miller on Deface the Nation. That's the name I call it. They don't like it. They spend millions on PR, and then I get on and say, Deface the Nation. But they do deface the nation, and the others are just as bad. But he was on there, and they said, well, Trump is going to be in a tight race. This is when I first ran in Texas. And we had an event, and we had a line that went 10 miles long to get into a stadium, and they couldn't even get in. And he looks at the anchor. He said, listen, I'm from Texas. He's had that beautiful hat on. I love that hat. I'd love to wear it, but it wouldn't work for me, I don't think, Ken would. Ken would say, it's no good for you. Take it off, please. But now he said, I don't know where you come from, but you don't come from Texas, because this guy's going to win in a landslide. And we won in a landslide, right? So thank you. Thank you. Sid's a great guy. Thank you, Sid. Appreciate it. Land Commissioner Dawn. Oh, I like that. I'd love to be Land Commissioner. I love real estate. Land Commissioner Dawn Buckingham. Thank you, Dawn. Great. Doing a good job. I hear that from everybody. And Chairman of the Texas Republican Party, Abraham George. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good job. So just in closing, thank you, Abraham. Great job. Immediately upon taking the oath of office, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. We will put, and I don't like saying that, the record is Dwight Eisenhower, who was essentially a moderate, good president. General Eisenhower, good president, good general, probably a very good general, right? Better than he gets credit. He never got credit for a lot of things. He built the interstate system, actually. He should get a lot of credit. But he was a very good president. But he was a moderate guy. But he has the record for deportation because he could not stand people pouring into the country. And I think we'll break that record. Not that I want to break it, but we have no choice. We have to get all of these criminals, these murderers and drug dealers and everything. We're getting them out. And we'll put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country, and we'll get them out. Ideally, we want to get them out because we don't want to have to pay for their room and board for the next 50 years, right? To expedite removals of the Trinidad Aragua group and the MS-13 and other savage gangs, I'll invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Did you know that? I had to go back that far. We couldn't find anything because modern-day politicians, even sort of old time, nobody had the courage of these original people. So we had to go back to 1798, and it gives you the power to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil, and you can get them out, and there's no problem. And at least you can't say that it hasn't been around for a while. That's something, right? And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility for parole. So, you know, because a lot of people, what happened, and it happened with Eisenhower, you'd take them out, they'd come back in, they kept coming in. So he kept bringing them further away. At some point, they didn't come back. But I'm going to do it differently. It's a 10-year system of you're in prison for 10 years with no parole. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. And you'll be amazed how it worked. You know, when I was in the White House, we had a lot of people that wanted to pull down statues and things, and I didn't like it too much, and we didn't have time to pass a law because they were really getting pretty violent around in Washington, D.C., and they wanted to pull down. You know, actually, when they started roping up Abraham Lincoln and a couple, I said, I'm not even sure they knew what they were doing. But we found a law that was in the early 1900s, very tough law, that if you so much as touch in violation of anybody's word, if you so much as touch a monument or a statue, you get 10 years in jail. And I had a news conference, and the town was flooded. We had a news conference. They had actually a rope around Andrew Jackson's head, the beautiful statue. And I said, we're going to go fast. And I went out, I did it. And it was a beautiful sight. The second I announced 10 years in jail, no probation, nothing. And as soon as I said it, everybody just sort of walked. I could see them walking. I don't want to use the term I used last night. A certain part of their body, I watched the back. I saw thousands of them, and I said, what a beautiful sight. They just left. And that was the end. We had no more problem until about 2 months ago, in D.C., where they became very violent. They were fighting with police. They were putting spray paint on our beautiful, on the lions, the beautiful lions. And, you know, they're sandstone, and that's a very porous stone. You'll see that spray paint for many years to come, like hundreds of years. You can't really get it out. It goes deep into the stone. And to the best of my knowledge, nothing happened to them, did they? They were beating up cops, or the cops were beating them up, but they were fighting. They were fighting our police, our great police. We're going to take care of our police, too, by the way. They're going to stop the lawlessness. And I'm going to end all migrant flights immediately. You know, they're still flying flights coming in with 450,000 people over a fairly short. 450,000, that's a lot of flights. And I'm going to outlaw immediately, and we're going to ask you guys to help on that, but we're going to outlaw immediately sanctuary cities. They're sanctuaries for criminals, and we're going to end catch and release once and for all. And Kamala Harris, she started this nightmare, open border, no common sense. We're the party of common sense. There's no common sense to an open border, and I will stop this nightmare immediately. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And Alexis, I want to thank you, darling. And your daughter, very proud of you right now, I can tell you. Very proud. This unbelievable family back there, thank you very much. We won't forget it. We're going to meet in the White House. We get there, I told them we're going to have lunch in the White House. All right? And that goes for you. Are we allowed to bring Alexis? Can we do that? They said yes, okay? So we're going to do that in honor of your beautiful Jocelyn, okay? Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, everybody.